I think I'm most excited about just the scale and capability that we can bring to the services that we do. I mean, the industry at large is incredibly busy. We're all thinking about how do we get more efficient, how do we scale, how can we find more people, which we ultimately need more people, but also how do we augment those people with capabilities to make them more productive and more creative. So ultimately, we want to be able to do things faster, better, and produce more value for our end customers.
Welcome to the Trailblazers podcast, presented by BSD Global, where we feature the visionaries who are helping to shape the AEC industry of the future. My name is Javier Baldor, Chief Executive Officer at BSD Global, and your host. Today, I'm joined by Justin Webster, Chief Technology Officer at HDR. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you, Javier.
Great to have you here at our AI Summit.
Great to be here.
Yes. Maybe please share a little bit about introduce HDR to our audience and also your story and your background prior to HDR and now at HDR.
Yeah, HDR is an Omaha-based but global architectural and engineering firm, around 12,500 to 13,000 people strong and growing. We're kind of an organically growing firm. We have a number of business segments and areas that we are focused on, from transportation to water to building engineering services, as well as resources, kind of power, that kind of thing, as well as federal work as well. And from my perspective, kind of where my background is, I've been in IT for 25 plus years, and kind of ever since probably about 5 years old, I was always interested and intrigued with technology. I grew up in a small town in Nebraska. In fact, I even got my mother to take me to Radio Shack to get computer lessons programming when I was like in the 4th grade.
Oh, there you go.
So
always
been intrigued. Always been intrigued with it. And so I kind of started out building software development applications in many different industries. Did that for quite some time. Had a lot of really unique experiences across many industries. Got into financial services and some innovation work there, and ultimately ended up at HDR.
Yeah, I did my homework a bit here, and I saw you're quite humble in your introduction there. At LPL, I want to get your take on establishing a digital innovation lab, and then certainly at TD Ameritrade, as a director of the Exploration Lab, and you established an enterprise artificial intelligence program.
That's right.
Super cool. So
yeah.
Maybe tell me about that journey and how you led that at those respective organizations, and then how you plan to bring that into HDR and our industry at large.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the question. So it's something I'm passionate about, and that's kind of how I got involved, right? It really was born out of technology is about enablement and innovation. Technology is a key enabler with innovation. And kind of put those two together. So it's people and technology. And putting those things together is a powerful enabler for organizations. And I got involved with kind of the innovations side of things in the innovation lab which it was called the R&D group or advanced technology at TD Ameritrade. And it was really about kind of born out of those moonshot kind of ideas. Like, how do we think of, big world-changing kinds of technologies and capabilities. And we started with that, created some very interesting technologies, but then quickly realized we also needed to be a bit more pragmatic about it. If you swing for the fence every time, you strike out a lot, unfortunately. Now, you may hit a home run once in a while, but it's fewer and farther between. And I remember, just to take the analogy a bit further, talking with my boss at the time, the CIO at TD Ameritrade. And he's like, we just need some singles and doubles. And so we kind of adjusted our approach. And it was really about managing a portfolio of innovation. So as you think about what are those 1x things that we can couple together, as well as what are those 10x items do, and if we can manage that as a portfolio, and we'll increase the productivity capability and better our outcomes ultimately for the organization. And so we did that at TD Ameritrade. We took it to LPL and we stood that up from scratch there as well, and got that moving along. And now we think about that mindset of that pragmatic innovation kind of lens at HDR and the AEC industry, which I think is a right place for.
Oh, 100%. Well, now you got me thinking about baseball and stuff. Omaha's the home of the College World Series.
That's right.
That's got me thinking about that. But must be interesting for you to bring that perspective into such a storied global engineering consultancy in HDR. And I think as a personally, being on the sidelines is a great advantage to bring a fresh perspective from these major companies in their own right into our industry. Your thoughts on that? How has your transition been? A little bit over a year and a half?
Yeah, just thereabout. It's been a lot of fun. It's interesting the differences and similarities of different industries. So, like I said, I'd spent some time in financial services, and there's been a lot of investment in fintech over the years, and I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of room for that kind of model and thinking to be applied to the AEC industry, while there's incredible amounts of capability and really genius within the industry already. It's just a matter of, I think, coupling some of the mindsets and frameworks in this space, and I'm really excited about that.
Well, maybe let's switch gears. Let's talk about this AI thing that has taken the world by storm. What scale, what impact are you envisioning for maybe from a couple lanes for HDR and for our industry? What are you most excited about? And then I'll tag on the back side of that to what is your top priority or planned investment in perhaps Gen AI or some other branch of AI?
Sure. I think I'm most excited about just the scale and capability that we can bring to the services that we do. I mean, the industry at large is incredibly busy. We're all thinking about how do we get more efficient, how do we scale, how can we find more people, which we ultimately need more people, but also how do we augment those people with capabilities to make them more productive and more creative. So ultimately we want to be able to do things faster, better, and produce more value for our end customers. And so I'm really excited about the generative capabilities are certainly one. I don't want to lose sight of some of the narrow AI capabilities. So if you think of the kind of general or the AGI or kind of artificial general intelligence, right? That's really come on the scene with ChatGPT, Google, Bard, and now Gemini and others. It's really, you're able to bring so many different use cases to one capability, and it's incredibly powerful. But I don't want to lose sight of the other capabilities, leveraging machine learning and advanced analytics, things like that, still have plenty of value to apply to those specific use cases. And so I want to make sure that we're also thinking about those. And so we're creating the criteria and the lens by which to determine where we're going to apply different approaches. And so from a prioritization standpoint in HDR, we're really thinking about this in a couple of ways. We're thinking about, one is how do we create our entire data foundation and enable that for not just one or two or three capabilities or solutions in the near term, but how do we enable ourselves to really generate momentum over the long haul in the solutions that we want to create, and be able to make data findable, usable, secure, reusable, all of those kinds of things. And so it's really about creating that foundation, but also generating real business value from a number of different use cases that we're working on currently. And so, we've actually tried to take a cross-section, kind of that back to that portfolio approach that I talked about earlier. We're trying to take a number of different avenues that benefit different areas of the organization. We're trying to start small, create value, and build on those. So you really think about beginning with the end in mind, right? Kind of the Stephen Covey kind of approach, but also trying to create more immediate value, because I've seen data platforms have been around for years and years and years. And I've seen data initiatives like this probably fail 3 to 4 times in my career. And typically it's because they try to go really wide and really deep all at once. And then there's there's a ton of investment involved with that. And then everybody kind of waiting for the value. Right, and so it's really important to be able to show more near-term value, early, and then build on that momentum.
You mentioned use cases. Anything for our audience that is top of mind for you in those areas, whether it's LLMs or other use cases with that just really are at the forefront of your thought process, and why? Why
Sure.
are those the places to start to get to? I couldn't agree more with you in terms of that. Get to value. A lot of firms do the moonshot, and really fail to meet expectations or false expectations. But I could not agree with you more in terms of getting to that MVP, getting to that value proposition as quickly as possible. But a couple use cases maybe for you to
some of those are probably the more typical ones around chatbot information availability. So semantic search capabilities, but also content generation as we think about how do we respond to RFIs more effectively, more efficiently? How do we generate proposals? How do we generate bios and kind of the pursuit stage? What can help us and enable those kinds of activities more quickly, more robustly? And then also we're thinking about generative design over time, whether that be whether that's images and image generation as early steps in that kind of process to consider from an architectural perspective, or full-fledged kind of design down the path. But we want to be very careful along that path. We want to make sure that we're very disciplined and very rigorous, because in this industry, people's lives are
they're on the line, right?
On the line. That's right.
Literally.
That's right. It's the safety of our communities, our families, right? We owe it, and a part of our standard of care.
HDR has such a storied 107-year history, representing, upon my research, one of the largest employee-owned companies in the United States.
That's right.
And a preeminent firm at that. How are you leading forward and leaning into innovation, and really disrupting your approach against the backdrop of such a leading, established, storied firm?
Sure.
How is that balance for you personally, and maybe your colleagues in your at HDR?
Yeah, really, it's about. I mean, AI is an exciting technology and exciting set of approaches and capabilities that we're applying in the world and getting really excited about. But at the end of the day, it's about people, and in this case, it's really transformational, right? And it starts with mindset and enablement. And it goes back to change management, right? The basics, right? And so as you think about kind of making people aware, and starting with desire and knowledge and ability and reinforcement, right? Kind of the old ad card model. We're really thinking about that. But you're right, there is a lot of incredibly smart people in the organization that are very excited to leverage these capabilities. I think the first part we wanted to start with was really about education, in terms of, yes, these are exciting tools. There are risks associated with these approaches. Let's understand them so that we know how to mitigate those and we can apply them in the appropriate places. So we really started with about knowledge and awareness. And then also it's also about reducing the fear factor, right? People are experiencing an emotional journey as these tools come into the fray as well, right? They start thinking about, wait a minute, hey, this is really exciting. This is really impressive. I can't believe how good this is. And then, that little voice in the back of your head says, oh my God, I'm totally replaceable. and then you use the technology for a little while and you realize there's some idiosyncrasies and things that don't quite work the way that maybe you think they ought to as a person would do. And then you say, okay, I got a chance. They still need me. But then there's kind of like, but wait a minute, it's advancing really rapidly. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then at the end of the day, you want them to get to this place where they're ultimately saying, hey, wait a minute, if I can harness this capability, it augments me, then I'm even more powerful. I'm not just letting the tool do my thinking for me. The thing that I like to say a lot to people is, if if everybody has these tools, what sets you apart, and what sets HDR apart? So it has to be somebody that is an excellent practitioner, somebody who's a master of their craft, leveraging a powerful capability.
So well said. I mean, what's been the reception from your staff? Not just your talented tech folks, but the broader HDR community. I mean, is there excitement? You said some trepidation. The full spectrum.
The full spectrum, right? Full spectrum. I think the one story I have for you is like probably about I don't know, probably the third month I'd been with the organization. I was talking to a group of up-and-coming leaders about technology and kind of my vision for technology and how that fit at HDR. And one of them mentioned, hey, I'm an architect in the organization, and I just read an article. Am I going to lose my job? Is AI going to replace me?
Let's get real.
And I was like, whoa, okay, let's talk about this, right? And so it's kind of going through that kind of spectrum of emotion that I talked about just a moment ago with folks. And to your point, yes, there's all ends of the spectrum, and you have to engage people where they are and help them, from their point of view and move forward collectively.
Talk about your vision. Maybe if you could share with our audience, what is that vision? For as you lead technology and digital transformation at HDR, if you might share some of the core ingredients or pillars behind that.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the core pillars are really about data-driven organization, the data-driven business, but that's kind of cliche. It's more about, I want to be decision-driven, and I want to make sure that our decisions are informed, and then we also are then reviewing our decision-making processes, and so that we create an even larger flywheel than I think most typical organizations leverage. I think automation is absolutely key, but innovation in that mix, and then being able to integrate different applications more quickly to create solutions very quickly, robustly, and drive better outcomes for our organization as well as our clients. So I think there's a lot of kind of interoperability to this mix. There's a lot of different technologies that are already in play, but we want to make sure that they can become more cohesive whole in the pursuit that we have for the pursuit of the best solutions for our clients and our project deliverables.
You're talking a lot about the hearts and minds and getting people to that place where they can embrace change. What strategies have you personally employed to get them? Is it explaining the why? Is it how? What is that destination? Are you overtly saying this is how it's going to be? This is the vision behind it, and maybe a lot of this is basic blocking and tackling, but it's so important, as you said. Maybe talk a bit about change management for our audience to really understand the steps and the scale of change management that you're presently undertaking.
Yeah, I think it's really about, like I said, people are in different places, and so you have to be able to engage them, many different audiences. Let's just say it that way, right? And so you have to engage. Your message has to vary so that you can connect with as many people as possible. But we try to paint the picture of look at this capability, look at the world around us, look at how it's affecting other industries, and look at the possibility and how might we in our organization. And we want to be trendsetters. We want to be part of the leaders in the AEC industry, right? And by declaring that and saying, hey, specifically, we want to be a leader in the space from a technology perspective. That doesn't mean we're going to go radical, but it means that we're going to, push the envelope on this. And then, kind of what we've done is we've had a number of forums of whether it is town halls, it's been all employee, video presentations, whether it's our annual meeting, talking about it there. So we're trying to reach everyone, and then going out to the offices and talking to people. So you've got to. I guess my advice in this particular respect is you have to communicate early and often, and in many channels.
Yeah. Speaking of advice, what's the single best piece of advice you've received that you've really applied in your professional career?
I would say, I guess from an advice standpoint, I kind of live by the motto, the Mark Twain quote, which is "You're never wrong to do the right thing," and I remind myself of that probably on a daily basis, right? And that's one of the things that I kind of hold as kind of a tenet of who I am and what I think about on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Maybe a parallel question: that who had the greatest impact on your life? Would you say?
Oh gosh, I mean, yeah, obviously your parents, but right when you go past that, I had an early mentor, and I've had a number of fantastic mentors in my career, but I had an early mentor that really kind of took me under his wing and saw something that. That maybe others didn't, right? And I was really appreciative of getting access in kind of a small entrepreneurial company and being able to do just about every role you can do in software development, from pursuit to warranty support, and I think that was just a wonderful experience for me.
That's so important, and it's really lost in many companies today. To take someone under your wing, to show them the confidence and belief that you have in them that perhaps may, to your point, not exist in us in our early careers, and to have that belief and that mentorship is maybe something for our audience to take away as well. But
yes.
Looking forward, I've been sharing with many of our guests the same question: what do you see? What do you see? What is, again, excited, but what do you see 5-10 years? Looking forward, HDR and our industry. What does it look like?
It's interesting. I think that human beings are incredibly resilient creatures, individually and in holistically in groups. And I think that I think change will. It's one of those things that to use kind of the Hemingway quote. It happens slowly and then kind of suddenly or all at once, right?
True.
And so I think we'll see some. I think we'll see it slow going for a while we kind of adopt and kind of really get used to the capabilities. And as the capabilities continue to evolve and proliferate, I think we're going to see these AI capabilities kind of permeate everything that we leverage on even a day-to-day basis, and all the tools and capabilities that we use for design. And we'll have I think that it will continue to kind of creep in this way. But I think that some folks will be reluctant, right? They'll kind of be hesitant, maybe not trusting, and maybe in some instances for good reason. But I think ultimately, we're going to see this profoundly impact our industry, our world around us, to be quite honest. I'm really excited about the kind of scale by which you can bring this kind of level of intelligence and thinking holistically and all of a sudden unlock new things and ideas and innovations that and insights that just weren't there before, just from a sheer scale perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And from whether that be academic or in the commercial world, I think I'm really excited about kind of the prospects of what we become and what we do with that. Now, I think it does change roles, right?
Yes.
So I think it could remove some of the drudgery that we do, and I think that's exciting. I think it'll create new roles around model management and how are we detecting bias, and how are we making sure that models or tools are not hallucinating, giving us wrong answers, whether that be false positives, false negatives, or just straight falsehoods, right? Mm-hmm. I think those areas are going to balloon in terms of
domains in their own.
Yes, they'll be domains in their own, and there will be specialists in their whole career fields, and I'm excited for that. But I think in other instances, some folks are going to be kind of dismayed because there's kind of the longing for the old days. But one of the things that we talk a lot about at HDR that we want to make sure we don't lose that kind of that gut feeling, that knowledge, that understanding of something's off. Mm-hmm. I can just tell something's not right, and that comes with just being, again, like I said, kind of master of your craft and understanding it at a very fundamental level. And so we talk about how do we enable our people in a very effective way with tools to be more efficient, more effective, even more creative, but at the same time not lose those basic fundamental understandings to know when something's amiss.
Mm-hmm. That intuition,
That's right.
that just gut instinct that something's off. So well said. Really have enjoyed our time together. So first of all, thank you for joining us on the podcast and for being a speaker at our inaugural AI Summit. Wish you and HDR the very best in the future. Much continued success on all these exciting initiatives. We'll come back maybe a few years down the line and see how this all plays out. But exciting times ahead. And thank you again, Justin.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us on this episode of the Trailblazers podcast. Until next time, take care.